Welcome to Inception podcast, which you can find on the Forbidden Knowledge News Network and also on the Facebook page. This evening, because it's this evening in the UK, we'll find out what time it is in the USA in a second. I have an amazing young man, I call him young, and I found him synchronistically by accident. God help him, you know me. And I invited him onto the show after we had a conversation one day, and his amazing insights on consciousness and life. I thought I have to invite him to talk about the 8 doors of consciousness. So welcome, Jonathan, to Inception Podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being on your show. This is actually the first show on somebody else's podcast that I've ever been on.
Well, there you go. And hopefully it'll be one of many. So yes. Before we get into our conversation, just give us a brief description about what you actually do and the name of your podcast.
Well, the name of my podcast is called The Cult of Conspiracy. It's on YouTube. Actually, we just did our last YouTube show the other day because we're switching over to another platform, so we can't get strikes and bans and all that stuff. So we switched over to Rockfin. But we're also on podcast still, so we're going to keep it there for everybody else to keep that third eye all the way open. That's what we're here to do.
Yay!
And, so we decided, so it was about a year and a half ago that I decided to start the podcast because I was always so into just learning more about all the conspiracies and all the spirituality, because it's hard to learn anything spiritual with a lot of people these days because everybody's, I don't want to say everybody, I feel like a lot more people are becoming more open-minded. However, they're scared to voice their opinion on what could be.
Yeah.
And whether it be because of the way they were taught, how they grew up. Fortunately for me, I wasn't brought up in any kind of religious household.
So that's a benefit. That's a plus. That's a plus.
Yes. I wasn't, I don't want to say brainwashed. That might annoy some people, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. No, that's fine. So I want to say, I've watched a few of his podcasts, and he's an amazing interviewer. And I'm hoping he won't flip the tables on me today. I will not allow him to do that. Don't worry. And I want to, and when we had the conversation before, informally, we really got deep into consciousness, and you come up with some beautiful theories and how you felt about it. And I thought, my God, the audience, he's an ideal young person for the show, because I've met many young people that have very similar thoughts as yourself, and they don't have a platform like Inception Podcast to come on and express it. So are you ready to go down the rabbit hole with me?
Always. You just guide the way. We don't even need a light. We can just go in there feeling up against the walls.
Well, there you go. Well, we're going to free fall. How about that? So let's get straight in there. Let's go. Okay, so the first door, Jonathan, we're going to go in, shut the door behind us, and off we go. We will free fall down to the bottom and start the journey. The first door is, from your truth, what is the human experience that you are experiencing? The audience know I use different analogies. You can use many. And the one that I normally, throw out there at the beginning of a conversation is, I am consciousness, having the human experience. So it's like a self-realization. I am that, and I'm having this human experience. From your truth, what is the human experience that you're experiencing? What is it?
I feel like I'm just learning a bit more and more every day. I feel like I'm going to have a better grasp on that answer tomorrow than I do today.
Yeah.
As far as I do know what it's not, that's usually how I come to a lot of conclusions.
That's the best way to do it. That's the best way.
Yeah, process of elimination. I know that we're not just here to work.
Yeah.
I know that we're not just here to follow somebody else's guidelines as to what they believe that we should be doing.
Yeah.
I believe that it's something that you kind of got to go off on your own trail and figure it out, because I mean, my path to enlightenment or consciousness or higher consciousness is definitely not the same path that somebody else is going to
take. And it can't be. It can't be. And I do use the analogy. If I have an orange and we cut it in half and I give you half an orange and I have half an orange, we're both experiencing it in the orange. However, we're not going to experience it the same. It will be totally different. And that's how it should be. And it's about the personal journey. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And I feel like, like I said, I wasn't raised in a religious background. We only prayed a few times a year right before Easter dinner and Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner. It was nothing really in depth. But I mean, for me, it was kind of like, I decided to go to church on my own behalf, just out of pure curiosity. And I found I actually did like it. I enjoyed it. But I found that it was at least a door. It was an opening to the spiritual side that I had never even thought of. I mean, maybe maybe it was something that I never even put into a box before. Maybe it was just something that I was just already living, and I wasn't even consciously aware of what I was perceiving.
Yeah.
And but I did know that, religion, it kind of talks a lot about, like, you got to do this in order to go there. Or if you don't do this, then you're going down there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like that.
It keeps you, and I found it keeps you in the human experience. So if we're using discernment or introspection and going, well, what is this human experience? When it's controlled in such a way to stay human and not think outside the box, I think that's where most people change their path. However, many find spirituality or their true, their conscious path through religion. And I found mine through studying comparative religions, trying every religion in the world. And through doing that, I sort of come to this understanding. I know what I'm not. And I'm like you. I started what I'm not. I'm not just this human. So if I'm not just this human, I come back to you with the question again, Jonathan. If I'm not just this human that's a slave to work and then just die, what is this human experience and what is it about?
The way I see it is we're all just little kids. We're all just little kids. Think about whenever you're growing up and your parents are out there guiding you and this and you got to do it that, don't put your hand on the stove or you're going to get burned. And then maybe you don't listen to them. And so you put your hand on the stove and you get burned and then you find out the hard way. I think that there's, I feel like not a lot of people know exactly what the hell it is that we're doing here.
I agree.
I always ask somebody because, it was about a year ago that I got into hypnosis and hypnotherapy and stuff like that. I start to talk to people and you find out whenever you're talking to people, you find out just how little they know about themselves.
Yes.
Whenever I talk to them, like, okay, you're here, I always say, like, where did we come from? Like, where were we before we were here? Like, we had to have come from somewhere. Energy can't be created or destroyed. As science says. So we had to come from somewhere, and we must be going somewhere. So what were we? Did we have past lives? Were we just a tiny form of consciousness until we were able to jump into this human experience? Were we something much grander, and now the human experience is something much smaller than the entire thing? Were we coming from... There's so many things that we could.
There's so many paths to take to go down this road, and it's when you start realizing what you're not. And I do agree with that. It's always, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not my parents' belief, I'm not my parents' religion, I'm not society's religion or society's belief. And when you do that work, then the questions that you just spoke about in the human experience for everyone, we all start to ask them questions. Now, on the back of that, we're going into door number 2. We're going further down the rabbit hole. I'm actually on a camp bed with my coffee, and I've got some food. You can sit on the floor, get your own stuff, but we're there. And normally we don't camp out for the night until around about door 4, but we're going to camp out now, because I'm going to ask you who is having this human experience that you've asked people about, how did we get here and all of that. Who are you then? Who am I? Again, I say, well, I'm consciousness. My truth is, I'm consciousness. What does that mean? Well, I could say I'm a multidimensional being experiencing all things at all times and all places. I could use any label, but it's a truth that is resonating with me. So if I bring that question to you now, and we're down in number 2, who am I? Who are you having this human experience, Jonathan?
I love these questions. I would say it all comes back to you have to have kind of a grasp of what you have a hunch towards, what you want to believe in. Maybe you don't even know the truth, but it's something guiding you, pulling you in that general direction. Mm-hmm. I believe that there was a creator, or there is a creator. I believe that that the creator has a tiny little spark within each of us. Mm-hmm. And that creator, that spark of the creator, of the source of God, whatever you want to call it, is experiencing life throughout many different people, throughout many different experiences, circumstances, body types, personalities, egos. So, and it's allowing whatever the creator wants to see. It's just like feeding this information to it, right?
Like a collection of data.
Yes. Call it the Akashic records. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. We just label to communicate. But I'm going to pull you back and pump the brakes there, because I liked when you said a spark of this source. So when I say, who am I? Who are you? Would it resonate with you if you said, I'm a spark of this source? I am part of this source. Many people say in multiple ways, which is beautiful, because it'd be so boring if we had the same answers. So I remember, as I went into spirituality, I first thought I was a child of God. That's the same as a spark of God. So it's the same principle. I use analogies of, we have a ball of consciousness, pure light, and put on a colander, and all the rays coming out are each individual being, but it's still the one source. So when I say, who are you? I may say I'm consciousness, or come out of a load of labels, but a spark of source, that is as equal as and as beautiful as. And that definition in itself, do you find, because I'm going to add a bit here, slightly digress, do you find when you have that sort of knowing of that, do you find the more that you research like you have and go into it, that expands your consciousness, or your third eye, as you've got up there, open up that third eye, and you become not less of a human, but you start to drop or peel away like an onion the human concepts and beliefs, and because you're a spark of the source. Do you find that works with you?
Yes, definitely, because in religion these days, it's all fear-based.
Yeah.
And that it puts you into this fear mentality. And fear, they always say, is basically an acronym, false evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
And I don't, if anything is inspiring me out of fear, I tend to turn away from it. Yeah. That's not the way I want to be inspired. Mm-hmm. But whenever you look at, if we are all sparks of the source, or God's children, or whatever you want to say, then you can look at it in a much broader, much more loving, there is no hate in that. Because now it's saying that you are me, I am you, we come from the same thing, and we're just experiencing life in different fashions. You're over in England, right?
Yeah, I'm in the UK.
Okay. Uh, and I'm in the United States.
Yeah,
And
you're in the hot country and I'm in the bloody freezing one. Yeah.
yeah, well, it's starting to turn fall now, so it's
Oh,
starting to
yeah,
get a
but
bit.
your cold is nothing like UK cold. Trust me. Don't even go there.
Oh, I know it. Yeah, well, we're in Louisiana, so it only snows like once a decade.
Oh, just shut
That's
up. All right. Just stop it. Just stop that. Could end the conversation there. No, it's not fair. No, but I understand what you're saying. And we could have just a podcast just talking about that door in itself, but we are unable. I feel like I'm going to sneeze in a minute because we need to go. Hold on. Bless me. Get the cobwebs out. We need to go to the next door number 3. Now, on the back of what you've just stated from door number 1, door number 2, door number 3 is you, this spark of source. Why are you here? Why are you here? What's your truth?
I think it's probably to learn something that I didn't learn in a past life.
Okay.
I think that the entirety of all of our lives combined, all past and present futures, all past and present lifetimes, and maybe some future ones if I don't figure it out this lifetime. It's all just collecting information. It's like going up through grade school. You know, you got to get here, and then if you learn that, then you can go up to the next grade. And I feel like there's each lifetime, and maybe each lifetime isn't one grade. Maybe you do so well in one lifetime that you move up 3 grades. I think that we're just ultimately trying to become the highest version of ourselves, the highest form of consciousness, to be able to exist maybe out in the universe, in the ether, in a higher dimension. I'm not sure exactly what is out there. I'm very open-minded to it. I know that there's much more out there than what we can perceive or what we can possibly even imagine. Because I know, I mean, I've done, some mushrooms, I've smoked some weed, and I know that my senses are much different than whenever I am, not intoxicated.
Yeah,
Right?
I hear you. Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I know that there's much more to it. I'm a frequent meditator. I understand that there is something else going on that we are unaware of.
That's
And
beautiful.
maybe we can start to smell it a little bit. Maybe it's kind of like we can see it, but it's very, very far in the distance, and we kind of got to squint to see it. There's something else going on out there. We only have 5 senses. Some people say we have a 6th sense. There's probably thousands of senses out there that we can't even perceive of. So I think that the human experience was designed to dial in on just the tiny details. Once we get these down, once we can handle these, then we can possibly start to work on the next ones. And so I think that it's all just one giant, beautiful story. And right now we're just working on a chapter.
I love it. I love that. I love your truth. I love it. Okay, on the back of that, we've gone round the tunnels now. We're deep underground. We're right down that rabbit hole. It's going to get weirder and weirder because this is the point where I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm not just going to let you give me a little answer. I really want you to expand on this question.
All right.
Now, door number 4, I've shut it. I've actually bolted it. I've locked it. You can't get out. Okay, there's nowhere to go until we get a really good discussion going on this one. On the back of everything you said about your human experience, your spark of source, and why you're here and what you're doing and where it's going for you, what then? We've come here. What then is this reality we are in, having the human experience? It's a question that has to be asked, especially on the back of quantum physics. Okay, so but everyone has their own truth, but interpretation of the truth, but it's basically the same, but we articulate it as we should differently. So I'll give you one of my analogies because it depends who I'm talking to. So what is this reality? For me, this reality is a screen of a film. I'm an actress in the film, okay, but I'm also observing the film. I'm writing the script. I'm doing the cameras. I've picked I picked the people who's to come into my interaction in the film, in the script. Like, I'm going to have some arseholes to piss me off, to do the work on myself. Why am I reacting? This one's going to make me feel like a victim. So, but I am the observer watching this. So there's that analogy. Or my other favorite is it's a dream. It's a dream. Okay, so there's multiple ways. It's a matrix simulation. So I've opened it wide enough for you to come in with your truth. What is this reality you, the spark of source, has come into? What is it? What is it made of? What is it? Is it an illusion?
Yes, I think it is. So I love that you brought up quantum mechanics and quantum theory and stuff like that, because as I alluded to before, that was kind of a big reason why I decided to learn about the hypnotherapy. I actually learned from the school of Dolores Cannon, and she was always all about QHHT. It's quantum healing hypnosis therapy. And so whenever you get down to the quantum level and you can start to, almost dissect all the little things, and you can look at it at such the smallest level and understand the double slit experience.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And you can see that things change whenever you're looking at them and when you're not looking at them.
The observer effect, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, does a bear shit in the woods if nobody notices?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's that same concept.
Yeah.
And so, and I love how they break it down to where it's like, I have a huge oak table in my podcast room. Okay, this table is not even really here.
No,
this table it's vibrating at such a low level. It's such a low frequency that it's giving off the illusion that it's actually hard. It's giving off the illusion that it's actually real, but it's just what our senses can perceive of.
And so you can have the experience of leaning on it and working with it, because we need that. I mean, many people don't get that, and they go, that's a brilliant answer. How can it be illusion? Because I'm here to have the experience. I've got my desk here and I've got my computer, and it needs to play the role with me. But it's energy, it's conscious energy vibrating at a frequency that brings it into matter. So like my body is brought into matter. Yeah, I know. Keep going. I love it. Yeah.
So whenever I look at certain things and I think about, like, what is this place? Okay, like, yes, I live in a house, and yes, it is providing me shelter, and it's keeping me warm in the winter and cool in the summer, and those are all great things. Even if it's not real, even if it really is just an illusion. You think to whenever you're in a dream, right?
Yeah.
And whenever you're in a dream, and whenever you become consciously aware that it's not real, that it is just a dream, you learn, oh shit, I'm gonna fly. I'm just gonna fly because I can.
Yeah.
And or I'm gonna, throw a fireball because that sounds awesome. You know what I mean? Like, I think that there's so many ways that we could manipulate energy and manipulate matter. That if we learned, I mean, some people might call it magic, some people might call it witchcraft or sorcery, or alchemy. Yes, turning lead into gold. I think that all of alchemy is just showing us is that that everything that we believe to be physical can be manipulated to be turned into something else with just these different minerals or the formation of the stars in the sky and stuff like that. I love being able to think outside of the box and know that not everything is just real and so weighed down and
It does. It takes the suffering out. But I like your terminology, the illusionary world, and it's the same for me with a dream illusion. It's the same, and I always go back to, because I'm a lover of the Matrix trilogy, and I always go back to the one where that guy's sitting there and eating the meat, and he knows it's not meat, and but the fact we can still experience eating the meat, and at the same time, this is where you have the juxtaposition that sometimes it's hard to get your head around, but for me, it's the same thing. In the juxtaposition, I am consciousness from source and a human experiencing the illusion. I've tried it. You should. I don't know if you've tried doing this, but I have. And when I'm eating something, I go into that circle. This is illusion, and I think of the Matrix, and I go, yes, I get it. And that's more evident. It is. You just know it's possible. And because people say, how can it be illusion? And you eat it. I said, because the body's the illusion as well. We are not. So we could digress on this one, and I knew we would go off a bit, but I love your analogy of the illusion. So this illusion, and I want to pump the brakes on this as well, this reality. From your truth is coming from where you come from, knowing who you are, knowing what this reality is that we're experiencing, Jonathan and Gloria. It's illusionary, but it's an experience. Your truth then would follow that you have, on the back of what you've just said about alchemy and everything else, you can change your reality with the observer effect. With the observer effect. And where I'm going, slightly digressing, because I want to stay in this part of reality. For example, how does it resonate with you? As consciousness expands, the more I'm not, it isn't, it's wrong, then the individual frequency of you, the spark, expands and becomes higher. Then your true potentiality of shifting your reality, which we do anyway, but we're not consciously aware we're doing it. Why do I keep getting the same boyfriend all the time? Because you're attracting it. Do you see what I'm saying? So how do you feel on the back of what you said, this reality you're in? Have you noticed, I've got to ask this, any shifts in your reality since you've started through this process of what is this human experience? Who am I? Why am I here? And then you've hit the reality, especially through quantum physics. Have you noticed any shifts or timelines or anything like spooky action at a different distance?
I noticed that reality itself is basically a mirror image of what you're experiencing on the inside. I noticed that if I can center myself, if I can become consciously aware of all my decisions that I make and all of the thoughts that I create, I noticed that if I'm fully in control of whatever is going on in my own consciousness, that it's just a much more beautiful, a much more easygoing, a much more I attract what is attracted to me, what I'm attracted to.
The energy that goes out reflects straight back at you.
Yes. And so I this is why I try to meditate, because I want to stay as grounded as I possibly can. Because, if you get so wrapped up in so many things, then it's only branching you off into all these different parallel realities that you don't want to be in. And now you got to deal with the karma of that and all that nonsense. Being aware is the most important thing. If you're aware of everything that is going on, if somebody says something that, maybe a couple years ago would have just pissed you right off. But now you look back at that and you say, oh man, that pissed me off really bad. And all it did was just send me down this road of just anger and resentment, and it made my day terrible and all these things. And the same goes for food. Do I want to eat this big old bowl of spaghetti and meatballs and then feel like I am in a entire food coma for 3 or 4 hours after? All because I want to enjoy something chewing, swishing around and chewing around in my mouth.
I hear you.
Just love for it. 10 minutes. I'm good on that, So I'm starting to eat healthier. I'm starting to become more consciously aware. And I feel like the more control we have, the more attention that we can give our own consciousness. I mean, the easier life gets, the easier it gets, because we're the only ones in our own way. I totally agree. I love it. Audience, I told you, this young guy I found accidentally, synchronistically. I love it. That's just fantastic. Now we are on the back of all of that. And now we're going to door number 5.
Now, door number 5, you may want to go and lick your mushrooms. I don't know what you need to do here. I'm going to ask the question on the back of what we've just spoke about. So who is ET? Now, who is ET is just a label. It's an umbrella. It could mean Greys, Palladians, Reptilians, angels.
I'm sorry. Can you hold on one sec? I got to go put my dog up. She's barking.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, off we go. I'm holding, guys, and I'm admiring his stage. I love what he's got up there. Open up that third eye. And that's what we're all trying to do that, aren't we? So, and we can all have a nose round his room. This is his studio. Oh God, it looks like he's got a couple of samurai swords there. I'll have to speak to him about that. Can you hear me? What's with the samurai? Oh, he's off again. The samurai swords. Gosh. Me and the audience were just nosing round your room while you were gone with the dog. What's with the samurai swords on the wall?
Actually, this sword right here, it's like a pirate sword. And my buddy, he had him in his spare room. He wasn't doing anything with him. I was like,
wow,
a pirate sword. That's awesome, because whenever I went to a past life, I was a pirate. So I thought,
wow.
I thought it was really cool and that he had it. And I was like, man, that is so awesome. And he was like, well, he goes, I'll make you a deal. If you put it up in your show, you can have it.
Oh, no.
So it was really
look
cool.
at you love and lighter with your pirate sword. Anyway, what's the next one?
And the other sword is for my co-host. His name is Jacob. He was in the Marine, so that's a Marine sword.
Oh, bless. Wow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we all while you went off with the dog, we just had a nose. Right, let's pull it back. We're pulling it back now, okay? Dog's sorted. So the umbrella is, who is ET? Everyone has their own interpretation. Some people could... me, I'm a contact experiencer, for life contact experiencer from Greys, other beings, light beings, I don't even know what they're called. And what we label them, because that's what we do, angelic beings, the Elohim for me, which I label them as the creator gods, the Elohim. So there's mine. So the question is, who is this ET? Who is, from your truth, this ET in this, under the paranormal question, who is it? Who is ET?
So I've seen a UFO before. It was in Arizona, and it seemed like it was only focused in on me, and it was me and my cousin. We were sitting back there and saw it, right? And it seemed like that it was just focusing in on us. And it was like, it was so strange. It looked like a small little UFO, and it had these rotating lights that were just going, and it was very obvious that there was nothing else that it could have been looking at. No. It had to have been looking at us. And so I found that very, very, very strange. I was really surprised, because this was during a time I'm like, oh my God, a UFO, aliens.
Yeah.
Right. Because, that was back in the time where I thought that there was little green men up inside of there, and who knows?
Oh, I think everyone, well, no, I didn't, because I'd seen them, but most people did. But however, I'm gonna pull you back. What you actually just said was you observed a UFO, yes, and you were aware that it was aware of you.
Yes.
That is when we say things like this, it's how we say it. Is very important. So, and I repeat that many people come up to me and say, I've seen it, and I have to break, say, no. You became, and they say, it was watching me. I said, that means you are aware that they are aware that you're aware. There's your connection with that experience. So, okay, so there's your first contact with the ET I've asked you about. Do go on.
Okay, so that was really my first experience. My second experience with ET, whatever it was I went on a mushroom trip, and it was just a trip inside of my house. I didn't go anywhere except for in my mind.
I like that, a mushroom trip. I went on a boating trip. No, I went on a mushroom trip. I love it. Go.
I mean, it's a much better experience.
And cheaper, yeah.
Yeah. So it was a long night. I stayed up. I mean, it was an insanely, actually, I just got done talking about this on my podcast last night that I haven't uploaded yet. So this will be going up on there too.
Good.
But so I did this, I did these mushrooms. I was trying to have a good experience with the mushrooms. I wasn't trying to go anywhere. I wasn't trying to do anything. I was just trying to experience what I could possibly grasp from the other side. Maybe the veil would be thinner. Maybe there would be some kind of information that I could pull from the other side. I feel like movies kind of portray this a little bit, like with Nightmare on Elm Street, whenever somebody's trying to grab Freddy Krueger's ear and pull it to the other side. This is a much better way. So what I was experiencing is that, I was just laying on my couch and I have this massive fish tank. I have turtles in there. And I noticed that there was this algae that's growing on the inside of the glass, just a little bit. You would never even notice it. Like it's something that is so unnoticeable that you just glance past it and you don't even really notice it, right? However, when you're on mushrooms, everything is much more enhanced. Everything is much brighter and vibrant and just more beautiful. And so I'm looking at this algae and I swear it is trying to get my attention. I swear it's trying to get my attention. I don't know. There's no other way that I can put it. It looked like it was almost waving at me because I could see its little, I don't know, its little arms or whatever. And I thought, man, that is so strange. And not only that, but the color was much more vibrant. It looked like it was glowing. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, is this my mind on drugs or is this really what's going on that I can't perceive unless I am under a specific hallucinogenic? And I choose to believe the former, really, because I think that, I believe that, or the latter rather, I believe that that is really what it is, that it really is beautiful and it really is trying to garner our attention, or maybe it just wants to be seen.
I'm going to hold you on there because that's a really valid point you've raised. Again, when you first would deal with the algae and you said, I feel like it wants to get my attention. However, we could then say you became aware enough as the observer to know it was aware of you. It was feeding back. I'm aware, Jonathan, you're aware of me, that I am consciousness in a different shape or form or whatever way. It wouldn't say it like that. However, that experience itself, but one thing, I've never done mushrooms in my life or hard drugs or anything. I think once I had marijuana and I went on a spiritual, it was just never again. I just saw more than what I normally see and I couldn't hack anymore. So, however, what I've learned of others that have had these mushrooms, psilocybin, isn't it? And gone in with the right intention. And there are other ways of doing it. I didn't need to do it through mushrooms, but there's many roads home. But what they've said is if they've gone in with the right intention, not to just party hard or whatever, but really gone in with a heartfelt intention, they shift the filters that when we're not in that state of, because it shifts your consciousness to a higher frequency. So then you're able, it's like having binoculars to see further away. It shifts the consciousness to this level of frequency. You see true color, you see true vibration. What we deem to be inanimate objects, actually, quantum physics 101, are not inanimate. It's consciousness. It may not be sentient to a degree, but it's still alive. It's all consciousness. So I understand what you're saying. By others have told me it shifts filters. And many have had an experience on these mushrooms that some have done it once, twice, or three times, and ever so often now and again. But they've had one major one where they've had such a filter shift, like someone's pulled the screens away and you go, what? And you can never look at it. Could you ever look at the fish tank and the algae the same way again?
I will never clean off algae ever again.
There you go.
I'll never do it. I feel like I'd be sacrificing something.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing that Now, how can you say, taking an hallucinogenic is a negative, bad? And I think that's why they're banned, actually, because they don't want everyone waking up. That's an obvious. But that's digressing. I mustn't digress. So now you've explained your experiences to that. We don't need any more. I want to pull you back. Who is E.T. then? Who is E.T. compared to us? What do you think E.T. is? Who is doesn't matter if they're little green men or blue men or yellow men, but you're aware of other beings that are not in the human form on the craft. Who is this E.T.? What do you think they are?
In my opinion, I think that ETs are higher forms of consciousness that are not trapped into a lower vibrational state of mind, that they're able to perceive things on a much grander scale as compared to the way that we look at things are much more narrow, much more much smaller minded things. And it's not to take away from any of our experiences. It's not to say anything that that what we do is pointless and at all.
I hear you.
I think we absolutely need this. But I do believe that what they're experiencing is on a much grander scale. I do believe that we're being guided in a way, because there's certain things. I mean, things don't happen just out of chance.
No,
I'm not somebody who believes in coincidences. This is why I started the podcast, because these are things that I love talking about. I believe that there is some sort of perfect mathematical equation that just completely puts this whole thing together, and it makes sense. And that there's a whole story, and maybe there's soul contracts. I've heard people talk about soul contracts. Maybe that is really what we're experiencing. Maybe why it's, why we get deja vu. It's like a glimpse into that soul contract that we previously made. And now it's just like, oh, I remembered it for 3 seconds. I remember it for 3 seconds. And
that is, I mean, I recorded a podcast earlier on today with Charles Christian, and we got onto the same subject. We went into deja vu again. And then I said to him, I said also another one we think, I mean, I've heard of soul contracts. I've heard of all of that. However, it's the same as past lives. I just say it differently. Consciousness, am experiencing all things at all times in all timelines and all parallel universes. It's the same thing. Doesn't matter which way. You can go linear, as in past lives, if you want to. I just stick it all in the now. However, when we spoke of that and we went deep on this question, this is where we went on this one this morning, and he mentioned deja vu, and I said, that's the one. But there's another one that also picks it up, is the Mandala Effect. And I said it on the podcast this morning that was recorded. I remember he died in prison. I'm telling you, he died in prison. And then what time later, there was a celebration. He was released from prison. Okay, no, he's dead. So at some point, I was in a timeline, and it wasn't just the one Mandala Effect I've had. And I was going, I'm mad. I must be mad. I don't know what, but that as well shows you. It's evidence for us as we go. And it's quantum physics. It's a bit like, I call it like superposition. You have, you can pop in, pop out, pop in, pop out. And I think we can do that in timelines and go back, go forward. How do you feel about that on that one?
Do you think that there's ever been a time, unlike now or like now, that any other people have ever experienced a timeline shift such as what we're experiencing? Because I fully believe in the Mandela Effect. I know for a fact the Monopoly man had a monocle. I know that for a fact.
He did have a monocle.
He had a monocle.
He did have a monocle. He did.
You can't tell me otherwise. You can't tell me otherwise.
Are they saying he didn't now? No, that's a new one for me. He did have a monocle. Yes, he did.
He doesn't now. Yeah, you look on all the Monopoly boxes.
Oh, fuck that. No, I'm not having that. I've had enough Mandalas. I didn't know that. He had a monocle with that funny face.
Yep.
Oh,
and
my Lord.
So what I'm asking is, I'm going to flip it around on you just for one question.
You're flipping. You're doing Chris Matthew on me. Go on.
I am very curious. Do you think that we're living in such a special unknown time that we're the first to experience such chaos, that we're starting to believe and starting to know and understand that there are separate timelines that were branched or merged together? Is this the first time this has ever happened, or the first time we've been consciously aware that it's ever happened?
Well, I can only speak from my truth. And my truth is, at the moment, I'm in a different timeline to the others on the news timeline. That's all.
Yes.
I shifted. I felt between the two timelines. I was in it. It was pulling me back and forward. And now I'm totally disconnected from that timeline. Sometimes I have to step into it to go shopping as a visitor, a bit like ET comes here, and then I'm out. So and many people have spoken to me recently about the timeline shift. They're experiencing, literally, the filters are dropping and there's massive mandala or shifts going. However, previously in recorded human experiences, because I really wasn't, that it's not in my conscious memory at the moment, I'm aware by written literature, they may not have used timeline as a word, but they shifted to certain conscious beings did. If you go to the religions, just for a starter, you can go to, in Islam, their Prophet Muhammad went to 10 different dimensions. It's written. So it's different timelines. You can call them realms, timelines. I'm seeing orbs flying around now. So I think they did as well, and it's still written in their scripture. However, I'm not consciously, I don't have recall of it. But now the people come, and never in my experience, this timeline, have I experienced so many. It's like they're all jumping in the timeline I'm in. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, yes.
Like they're jumping ship, and it reminds me of Dolores Cannon years ago saying about the two worlds. And I said, no, there can't be two worlds. And I was seeing it, objectively and, from the left brain. But now I get it. It's one Earth, but there is like now two different timelines, distinct, yes, timelines. I totally agree with you. And at the moment, it's mind-blowing because we're consciously aware we're shifting. I think I can only speak from my truth on this experience. I can look back with hindsight, which is a bitch, and go, I shifted then, but only with the hindsight. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I now can track myself shifting one to the other, moving timelines to experience the ultimate timeline. This one. This is, yeah.
I love it. I was just thinking, I don't know how many people are listening, or how many people will listen to this show.
We'll listen, we're recording.
Okay, hopefully there is a lot. I just want to say I am so thankful and so grateful to be around such people that are so open-minded to have this kind of conversation.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is what we should be talking about all the time. Who cares about what happens in the news? Who cares about what happens in the football
I agree.
Like, we have no control over that. This is the stuff that we can take in and learn from and possibly expand our awareness and our consciousness to be able to, play around in our dreams and play around in our meditation and play around if you choose to take in mushrooms or anything like that, right? This is just the best kind of conversation.
It is the best, and this is why I started the podcast. The only reason it was to have these types of conversations and to bring it all out into the open, and and hopefully others will use a bit of discernment and go, oh, I never looked at it that way before. But I remember coming in. But for me, the shift, and I'm saying, God, all these people, humans, are coming in my timeline. I am synchronistically how I found you. It was, you couldn't make this shit up. I mean, there's only I've so many hours in a day to go and do a bit of research, any young blood out there. But I kept getting this, look, look, and anyway, long story short, I found this podcast out of the blue, which was you. And I just listened. And I told you before what I said. I knew he needs to be on the show. He needs to share what he has. And obviously I recognized it. And as I said, we need more and more and more and more and more. So when this podcast comes out, it will come out on Forbidden Knowledge News Network. It will come out on the Inception Facebook page. When it's out, Jonathan, share it out wherever you can. Get it out there so as many people can hear and make a decision themselves. You know, I always say, if you can take something from the conversation, it resonates, you're welcome freely. If it doesn't resonate, put it to one side. Don't close your mind, just put it to the side. Because trust me, if you've listened to this podcast, now we're time traveling, if you've listened to it, and if at the end of it you say, nah, the fact is that you engaged in the energy of this podcast, put it to one side because it's coming back. Something's going to come in your timeline to shift you again, and you'll recall the conversation me and Jonathan just had. Yeah.
Allow it at a bare minimum to plant a seed.
Yeah, absolutely. You do realize you flipped it, all right? You took over my show, and only one person's done that before, Chris Matthew, and we've digressed on and off, but it was fantastic, and I loved it. Right. We're now in door number 6, okay? We've got 6, 7, and 8. Now, door number 6, sometimes it can be misconstrued as complex question, and that's because I'm not articulating it with clarity, should I say. I'm going to do my best this time. So this ET, this conscious being in a different shape and form, experience, how are we connected to them? So they're in our 3D illusion, yeah? How are we connected to them? Obviously coming from my truth, which is juxtaposition, I consciousness having a human experience. I know I'm connected. They're conscious sentient beings having their Arcturian experience or Elohim experience. And I am, consciousness having the human experience. And we are supposed to interact, or they wouldn't be here. They would not be here. And I do believe they do assist. They don't take your free will, but they do assist. However, there is another area that is spoken about on the juxtaposition is the Homo sapiens sapien. I'm also aware that there is a DNA connection with them. So not that it prioritizes or is more important. I'm just having this conversation with you. So how are we connected from your truth, do you think, with these ETs?
I was just thinking that there's this doctor. I can never remember what his name is, but he's like the most famous doctor on Gaia TV. If you've ever looked into that,
yeah.
I can't think of what his name is, but he's so awesome to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And he says that scientifically, because he comes from a very doctory scientific background, supposedly written into our DNA. That there is an actual code written into our DNA that spells out God with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that, and like my whole body just like started shaking, and it was just, I felt the energy within that. And so whenever we're talking about who are the ETs, how are they
Connected to us?
How are they connected to us? Are they related to us in some form or fashion? I believe that that's who we are. That is like down to the core. That is who we are. I've talked to somebody, another scientist, and he was real big on learning about is it Thoth or Thoth?
Thoth, yeah.
Yes, and he was supposedly Thoth went down the rabbit hole and saw that we are connected with the silver cord. Right. And that silver cord is what connects them to us, in my opinion. I mean, because if that silver cord gets snapped, then supposedly that's whenever we die. And then we're able to be freely back into wherever we came from, whether you want to call it back into the ether, back into the universe. And then when that happens, we are now them.
I love it.
They that we refer to will be us. And so I think that it's so simple. It's so simple that, it's just a bit of amnesia that we've had, that we can't remember all this stuff. But whenever we talk about it, we know down to our core that
it's when we're talking, it's when you get into a discussion with someone and it's like you're talking, and all of a sudden you go, well, for me, it's like, vroom, and it just comes out. And I'm observing all this kind of going, where the hell did that come from? I already knew that. And this is why, for me, talking on the podcast, and I have been on a few other shows as well, it's very important to talk about this, to get it out here now, and about this connection to them. It's more than likely, every theory that's out there, it's more likely all of above. But I have a truth that they are me, I am them. It's the same. And also with the physical aspect of the 3D experience, which is only on the 3D Earth, there is a DNA connection. I don't have an issue with that at all, because obviously I'm aware of hybrids and all the other stuff. So we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. So yeah, I loved what you just said, and it's just, and you need to talk this stuff more and more and more. Once you get off my podcast, you need to get out there and talk your stuff, because I love it. I love it. Right. So we've done that. So we've got 2 more doors left. So I'm going to raise this question but preempt it with something. So why are they here now? I also have to say, yes, I'm aware they've always been here. On cave walls, my artwork in the hieroglyphs. We know in ancient paintings, Christian paintings, got UFOs in the pictures, always been here. But I'm talking about current times now, and the time when have a realization that we have, for the first time, we're consciously aware. First time, we've shifted a timeline. We're not just hindsighting back. We're now consciously aware we're in a different timeline. Why the other timeline exists, yeah? Our experiences haven't done this before on this journey, okay? So why are they here now in the abundance, and with the abundance of the paranormal experiences, whether it's mandalas, deja vu, UFO sighting, ET contact, the Elohim, it does seem like it's in abundance now. We have shifted into this timeline. So why do you think it's not the word, what is your truth of why they are here in abundance now, and all of these multiple dimensional experiences we are having now? What's going on?
I think that for the longest time, throughout maybe the last 100, maybe a little bit longer, maybe the last 100, 150 years, we've kind of gone into some sort of a coma, where the government wants us to believe that it's God. Religion wants us to believe that it's God. There's always these governing forces that want us to pay our attention to them and respect them as our higher ups. And I think that right now is the time, throughout maybe the last, really ever since Roswell, maybe even farther back than that, but I would say in more recent events, up until Roswell up until now, they've been slowly creeping into the news and reality, into our subconscious, maybe speaking to us through our dreams or meditation, or throughout any other psychological way. I think that it is just is exactly how you were saying earlier. Whenever I said that I saw the UFO and I saw that it was observing me, maybe that's all they're really here to do. Because if they just up and drop the veil and out comes the boogeyman, we're gonna run away like crazy.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But if it shows up in our movies, if it shows up in our songs and just regular talk like how we're doing right now, and we see that they're not some big scary things. I mean, they might look different than us. Maybe they're even without form. They're probably in their natural.
I would say they're without form, and they come in form so we can perceive them, because we are programmed to see consciousness in its solidarity. It has to be an object, otherwise, because it's 3D, we need form, and they don't have names, but they give names because we need names for the human. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Yeah.
And so whenever I'm having this mushroom trip and I'm experiencing the algae, or I'm experiencing the love from the trees that are covering my house, or I'm laying on my bed and I'm hearing the Elohim talk to me, this is now getting me ready for whatever is to come. This is now something that I don't need to be worried about. It's something that I'm comfortable with. It's something that I'm familiar with. And it's just like any good relationship. You can't fall in love with somebody that you've only known for a day. I mean, you know, maybe you can.
Maybe you can. Maybe now and again it could, you know. Who knows?
Right. Maybe that's a bad example. You're not.
Yeah, that's a very bad example.
I can't say anything because I fell in love with my girlfriend at a very early time.
Okay.
So, but you know, I think that
there's a familiarity. Rewind. Familiarity with them. That when they come, you're talking about this love. You said you can't fall in love one day, but this, I know the love that I experienced from the Elohim. It's like I've always known them. This love has always been part of me. So I understand that statement that you can't fall in. And when you encounter these experiences, especially for me with the Elohim, that's the strongest vibration of love and joy. I can't even, you know, I nearly go out of body. Literally, I'm coming out of body on it. And that happened the other day. It was like, whoa, I can't do this, stop. It was just that big. It's a familiarity with them, isn't it? Yeah.
I guess a better phrase would be that they're giving us training wheels.
Yeah.
We need the training wheels, and then maybe we can ride the bike, but we got to get used to the training wheels first, and getting us more familiar with, you know, the pebbles in the road that we go over. Every time we go over a pebble, it's going to cause our handlebars to turn a little bit. But if we get used to it and we're familiar with it, I mean, this is only going to make us more comfortable and thus more open-minded to whatever vibrations or frequencies or what kind of love, what kind of lessons they're trying to teach us. I mean, I think that they're only there to help us. There is absolutely no fear that I have in any of this. And whenever people talk about the reptilians, or, you know, the bloodthirsty vampires and stuff like that, I'm not saying they don't exist, but I do believe that at a much larger, higher frequency scale, those who have evolved to be what we hope to become one day are nothing but love, and they're only looking out for our best.
I'm in total agreement with you on that one, and that was a really beautiful answer. I'm in total agreement. We've agreed on a lot today. However, the next one, which is we're so far down the rabbit hole, I feel like I'm on psilocybin mushrooms at the moment, talking about it. It's like, woof, you know, you're gone. I'm hot because I know they're here as well. So on the back of all the 7 doors we've gone into, the 8th door, why are they? You've already touched upon it, but we need to expand. So why are they interested in us? Now, we've already touched upon it on door number 7, and they're here to help and that. But then prior to that, I'm surprised my memory's so good today. Hell. You spoke about, when we said about shifting timelines, we're now consciously aware we're in a different timeline. It's the same shit, but it's different. We're not affected by it. We're in another movie, a mirror movie, so to speak. We're looking in the mirror and we're just observing it now. Something is coming. Now, I'm not saying I know what's coming. I have no idea at the moment. I'll be made aware when you're aware. But however, when I ask why are they interested in us, and I'm talking about, it is really the amount of, even me at my age, and the amount of ET contact I've had over the decades. In the last couple of months, and even over the last couple of weeks, it is intensive. And it's always like an urgency. Wake up, self-realize, urgency. urgency. So for me, I would say, why, never mind past, now there was an urgency of an event. And I used to think before, maybe 6 months ago, my truth is always changing. The more that I learn, I used to think, the urgency is because I'm going to shift the timeline. I observed myself shifting to the timeline back on, and that wasn't the urgency. I'm now in the timeline that we spoke on, yeah? But I'm feeling this, not urgency as in warning. It's not that. So from your truth, why are they so interested in us now? And our interaction with them is just so strong. What do you think it is?
From a very early age, I thought that that I would be around for the end. Yeah. I always thought that I could never, I would talk to people and I would say, can you imagine what you would look like whenever you get old and, you live a very long life and then you just die of old age? Can you imagine what that version of you looks like? And almost everybody says, oh yeah, I know my skin and my hair and all this. I'm like, but can you imagine being in that moment? Imagine taking in all the knowledge that you've taken in across all of the years and all the experiences that you've had, the family members that you've had these experiences with, the kids, the grandkids, the great grandkids. Can you imagine that? And they say, yeah, of course I can. I can't imagine it. It's not that I don't want to. I would love to imagine myself as an old man with all these little kids and all these grandkids and great grandkids and all the great memories and the experiences. I would love to imagine that, but I kind of always thought that whatever is the end, and I'm not saying the end of the world. I'm not saying I'm not saying the world's going to blow up or explode or going to get hit by an asteroid or
it might do, but we're not saying that. But there you go.
Or Armageddon or anything like that. But I do believe that we could be coming to the end of an era, and that era being.
And you're supposed to be here.
And I'm
the same. I'm exactly the same. And I always, I don't say it's Armageddon. I actually use the terminology now that. I mean, it may change. It's a spiritual apocalypse.
Yes.
I call it the spiritual apocalypse. And I've always known I was to be hidden for some reason. I never knew why, obviously. And at the end of something, not the end of the world, not the end of this, not the end of that, not in the physical matter, but a spiritual apocalypse. But so on the back of that, what you've just stated, so it's quite obvious, I suppose, but that might sound arrogant to say that. So why are they so interested in us now? For example, do you sense an urgency? Not in a negative way.
No, not in a negative way, but I do sense that there is something that's going on behind closed doors that maybe we're unaware of. Something that's going on in the ethereal realm, in another dimension. Maybe it's heaven, maybe it's hell. I'm not sure what you want to label them as, but I do believe that the higher dimensional frequency beings are in some kind of war with the lower dimensional frequency.
Something's afoot. I don't know what's going on. All I know is I went from decades of Greys, Arcturians, and then we've got the Mantis and more paranormal than you can imagine, mediumship, and all of the spirit world, dead people. And my contact now is what I call with these creator gods, the Elohim. And I'm hearing it from others. It's shifted. Something has shifted. And I just thought, what's your take on it? Because I don't have the answer.
I come from a very conspiracy-minded nature. I want to let that be known.
Well, so, yeah, that's your podcast, isn't it?
Yes. So with that being said, I do believe that the people that have been in power here for a very long time, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the big bankers, big oil, big pharma, big government, all of these people, they're rushing, they're hurrying up, they're raising the gas prices, they're making us all get the jab. They're trying to get the last little bit of control that they possibly can because they know that something's coming. They know that something is right around the corner.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, I always say that they know the game's up. I mean, I give two analogies, and one is the chess game. The 7 move lefts of the chess game, 2 players, Russian, obviously, and one of them just checkmate the other one. So the winner knows it's won, but the loser knows it's lost, and is going to drag it out, you know, just for entertainment purposes in the illusion. And humanity's watching it like this, going, oh my God, you know, I use that one. But then there was another one. Everyone's aware of Project Looking Glass. From my truth, and it's been like that for some time now, we've already done it. We have already done it. And it's exactly what you said. They go, no, I want more money. I want to experience this. And, you know, I agree with you. However, I don't actually know what's coming.
Yeah. Think about it like this. You know, whenever we're talking about aliens, ETs, and how we're having these experiences, and it's just kind of like, you know, coming from the mindset that I was talking about how they're kind of just warming us up to it. They're putting the training wheels on. They're getting us ready, right? And I feel like, you know, shows like my show and your show is doing the same thing that those experiences are having on us. It's softening the blow. It's getting us ready. It's putting the word out that something's coming. You should definitely be aware of this or that. But something is there. And so that way, whenever it does happen, it won't be so surprising. And so I do believe that shows like ours, not to toot our own horn here, but I'm going to toot on it.
Toot away.
Yeah, I think that, you know, and it's not even just ours. There's so many good shows out there that people are talking about this stuff. And I love that people are talking about it because it's just getting people ready. And everybody has this feeling. It doesn't matter what walk of life you come from. If you come from Christian, Muslim, I mean, Buddhist, whatever, Hindu, I mean, it doesn't matter. Everybody senses this urgency. Something is about
there is an urgency, and it's
crazy.
And I, you know, and as I said, you know, I, you know, obviously I try to, on the individual level, even from this juxtaposition, I'm still a human. I'm still here. Well, I think I'm here anyway. I'm experiencing being human. And for me, you know, I keep thinking I have witnessed and I've been shown possible timelines. And it's really my free choice what I choose to experience. And I'm afraid I'm at the moment now. Look, I want to go off with the Elohim. I'm so sorry. I've had enough of the. It's like, you know, that I want to go home feeling, but you don't know what home is. I let it all go. Let the food go. Let the money go. I mean, I'm really not interested in it no more. I am not. I live my life on the basics. It's the basics. I do not need. And I've noticed that as it's been happening, Jonathan, which is the same as consciously aware of the timeline, but this urgency, and I ask everyone I can, what's your sense? Because none of us know yet. And if we did know, it'd be boring, because when we'd start, we'd go back into being human and planning, and I don't want, no. It's, but I would say, it's very hard to say because I'm trying to speak, there is no time-space continuum in the illusion doesn't exist. However, it's got to play its role. The curtain, the last curtain has to go. And we've come in. It's not just me. Billions of conscious beings have come into experience, the last curtain. And I agree that it's an end of something. And the only way my little mind can do that is to say it's a spiritualization of the physical.
Yes.
A spiritualization of the physical. The physical is here, but it's a spiritualization of it. So then for me, it would be a spiritual apocalypse. The identity needs to get the fuck out of the way. Because if you have the identity and you're about to look up in the sky, and it's not going to be nuts and bolts crafts that are coming, trust me, these are conscious, organic entities of colors that you've never seen before, ever. So that's my take on it.
I agree. I love it. Yeah, I love the spiritual apocalypse.
Yeah, isn't it? I love it too. I love it too. Right, on that note, I hope that didn't come across arrogant. I didn't mean it that way. I get excited if I can explain something that's, and it's so hard to speak about consciousness because it's more likely not even called consciousness. Do you know what I mean? But we're trying to find words for this energy. We can't call it energy, because it has the components of love, compassion, empathy, joy. So you can't just give it I have to find words. So it's not to offend anybody. Jonathan, it's been absolutely bloody amazing going down the rabbit hole with you. And I knew it would. And I want to thank you. And obviously, I always know that whenever I finish a podcast, my life will never be the same. I will shift even more. And I hope it works for you too. And to all the audience that will be in the future, not yet, listening in. This is weird shit we're doing. Now, Jonathan, before we go, advertise your wares, advertise your podcasts and all your links.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And thank you for everybody that's tuned in to listen to this show and to hear us, kind of go down this massive rabbit hole. This has just been such an absolute pleasure. I love these conversations. And for anybody that wants to hear more of this kind of stuff, we get into a lot of spirituality. We love conspiracies, though, because I've always connected the two, conspiracies and spirituality. Whenever you can take down that veil and you can look beyond, they're trying to put on a play. Why are they trying to put on a play? Because they don't want us to connect to this consciousness. So this is why we like going down these conspiracy rabbit holes. If you're into that kind of thing, we are called the Cult of Conspiracy. My name's Jonathan. I have a co-host, Jacob, who comes from a Christian background. So we kind of balance each other out very well. I love coming from, the black and the white, the yin and the yang kind of thing. I think it's a very beautiful thing. So if you want to check us out, we're on podcast everywhere, on Apple and Spotify. We also just got on Rockfin. So if you want to go check us out on Rockfin, for anybody that wants to help us support, anybody that wants to come support the show can check us out on Rockfin, and we appreciate all the love.
That's wonderful. And on that note, this podcast, Inception Podcast, you'll find on the Forbidden Knowledge News Network and on my Facebook page. Please like and subscribe. Get it out there, share it wherever you can. Not for my beautiful face, but for the conversation. It's about the conversation. What all of us do on these podcasts, not just me, there's Jonathan and Chris and Forbidden and others that are really upfront doing this. We want this to go viral, this information. To me, it's never about, to me, it's about the qualitative, not the quantitative. So, someone the other week said, "Oh, how many followers do you have?" I said, "I don't know, and I don't really care. It's not about it's about, for me, it's about the qualitative. What am I putting out there? And if I can get that message out that someone may get some, okay, oh, wow, I never thought of that. And some suffering and some fear drops, and they start to have a realization they're not this slave being, doomed. Then I'm happy, and that's it. So please share and like the podcast and follow Jonathan. It was a wonderful synchronistic day when I found him, and I knew you'd be a fantastic guest to have a conversation with, and you were. So on that note, it's bye from me, everybody. We'll see you on the next podcast. Do you know what I want to say? I got to do it before I close the podcast. I watched obviously my career was criminology, so murder and all that, and I watched a program the other day, and I can't recall it, and anyway, this person died, but he left a video. Okay, so like you said, well, if you're watching this, then I'm dead, and I'm just going to do it because someone said you can't do that because fear-based reasons. So if I do die, There you go. Right. So if I've died before you watch this, I told you I was sick, bitch. No, seriously. Keep doing the work, spread the message. And this sort of stuff is a virus that you want to spread. Trust me. Bye, guys.